Welcome back to Media7. Several years ago, Metro magazine looked to arrest a long decline in readership by converting to an unusual, large, glossy format. It worked for a while, and perhaps more importantly for the bottom line, the new format gave advertisers an attractive canvas for their wares. But last week, Metro threw a party to celebrate its retreat from the large format in favour of a more conventional, perfect bound form factor. Look, nude people. I'm joined now by Metro's editor, Bevan Rapson, who's going to tell me why. Bevan,
Hi, Russell.
Why'd you resize?
Well, I guess ever since we went to that big format you're talking about, there'd always been a trickle of opinion coming back to us from people saying that they found it unwieldy. They found it hard to read in bed and in the bath and to fit in their bag. And there'd also been a bit of a change in the market, in that there were some other products that come onto the market that aped that kind of format. They had staples, they were saddle stitched, and they kind of, I actually think they looked a lot like Metro, and that kind of muddied the waters for us. So, you know, when I was looking at what I would really like to do with the magazine, and I got a copy of another magazine in my hands, and I just thought, boy, there's a reason they're this kind of a size, and it's because they're convenient and they're for the reader. And it kind of went along with the idea that I thought it was time for Metro to kind of emphasise the value that it is to the reader.
I was going to ask you about that. Is the resize also partly a recognition of a change in the content of the magazine? Because it seems to be that, certainly this year, I think it's journalistically stronger than it's been for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've had some good material in the magazine right through the big magazine period, and I think possibly some people haven't seen that because they've looked at us and they've thought we're all show and no go. There's been an impression created that we're a magazine you might flick through that's kind of more lighter stuff, I guess.
And yet I recall one critical month when I picked up your magazine at the supermarket and I thought, I'm not buying that, it's full of silly stuff about restaurants and things.
Right.
So is there an attempt to present a more serious face with going down to this? You know?
Serious. Well, we do serious journalism with whatever we do, but one of the other great things about Metro, I think, is that we can be irreverent, and we also reflect the fact that there are some enjoyable things in life, like food and wine and travel and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I don't think a magazine that contains serious journalism has to be po-faced and boring. We're a general interest magazine, and we try and provide a meal of content, I guess. Yeah, I think some of the humour and having a poke at things is part of that, big part of it.
Would you be comfortable with it being seen as a return to the good old days of Metro?
Oh, well, the good old days, the heyday, as they call it. You know, I mean, that's never going to come again. When Metro was launched 128 years ago by Warwick Roger, well, no, 28 years ago, it had the field totally to itself. There wasn't a nightly current affairs show on TV. The feature sections of the newspapers were derided by the early Metro as old bores write about old wars, and there was nothing very lively out there. So, you know, Metro shot out to this huge circulation. We recognise now that we're very much a niche, but there is a niche of intelligent, educated people who want to read great journalism, they want to see good photography, and they want to have the kind of meal that I was talking about in terms of what they're reading. Do
you think things, maybe the market's tilting back a little bit towards more journalistically substantial magazines? Because it's been home and gardening magazines that have owned it for the last 10 years.
We're awash in a sea of soft media out there, and a lot of it looks like magazines. You know, corporate bodies put together things that look like magazines. Universities put things together that look like magazines. And if you know, there's things that turn up free in the cafes that look like glossy, high-quality magazines, and then you open them up and you start to try and read any of their content, and it's rubbish. And you know, I think, yes, there is a hunger for stuff that's really been well put together, been thought about, there's been some commitment to it, and you know, it's well presented and it's intelligent material.
Who are your readers now? Because I presume the original Metro readers from the 80s are nearing God's waiting room at the moment.
Oh, that's a bit harsh.
Well, the baby boomers would never admit it.
No, that's right. They're all funky and driving convertibles, wearing black skivvies. They're Yeah, we've got a big lump of baby boomers, of course, but helpfully the readership research tells us that we've also got a sort of a bit of a peak amongst 20-year-olds. Now, it's possible that they've been reading mum and dad's copy, but I also think there are people. What's been refreshing to me, I've worked at Metro for 10 years, and what's been refreshing to me is that these days people don't talk so much about the old days and the heyday, etc. There are young people who are discovering the magazine anew and just take it on face value, and they're pretty pleased with what they're finding.
It strikes me this is also a very good time to be running an Auckland magazine, because there are so many interesting issues and controversies facing Auckland at the moment. There are going to be big changes in the next 5 or 10 years. Do you see it that way? Because you've covered some of those issues quite well.
That's right. We're making a big effort to do that. I mean, Metro's always covered Auckland, and that will always be part of what we do. And yes, Auckland is the place to be. I mean, it's where the people are, and there's things happening with regard to our population growing. You know, the Rugby World Cup coming up even is something that's important. So we're happy to be an Auckland magazine, although I will say that I'm quite happy to put national stories of national interest in the magazine as well. I don't think Auckland people are parochial, and therefore I think the idea of just saying you need to buy us because we're the Auckland magazine, I don't think that's a great sell. You know, Aucklanders are outward looking, they look to the world, and they don't get snobby about the possibility of you know, going to Queenstown or Hawke's Bay or Taranaki or wherever.
Assuming Aucklanders can still afford to do that.
Yeah, that's right. I think some of them are rubbing by, you know.
One more thing, the Ferret's back briefly.
Well, that's kind of emblematic, really. I guess in 2002, I think it was, when we went to the big format, and she needed a holiday, and Metro probably needed a bit of a break from her. But I think the time is right now for her to come back. It's emblematic of what I was talking about before, the fact that we bring a kind of a hard searching edge to everything we do, and we don't want to be part of that whole rah-rah industry of people patting themselves on the back and sort of writing corporate puff pieces, which masquerades as great magazine journalism.
Well, I promise I'll be much more critical next time we meet.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Bevan Rapson. And we turn now to a sustainability story. Simon Pound looks at Earth Race.
Earth Race was a New Zealanders project to draw attention to biofuels. The trimaran was able to go halfway round the world on a tank of gas, and it holds the record for the fastest circumnavigation of the globe by a powerboat. But this beast is not out cutting through waves. She's in this shed in Helensville. Earth Race is undergoing a refit, getting ready for a new eco mission.
We're heading down to Antarctica to go and hassle the Japanese whalers.
This is just the latest media stunt for environmentalist Pete, who seems pretty keen on getting coverage.
I'm a prostitute, mate. I'll whore myself to anyone, even you guys, because you've just got to connect with people, and media is the most effective way to do that.
The links he'll go to attracting media are epic. His take on DIY biofuel, for example.
I underwent liposuction, and they got about 100 mil of fat out of my back. And then I took about 10 kilos of human fat from a couple of fat buggers, and I made biodiesel from human fat. And this story went round the globe.
He puts a lot of work in because journos love a story handed to them.
I found a lot of media is lazy. You gotta spoon feed them. Spoon feed them a press release so they can cut and paste the whole story, chuck it in a newspaper. So
he has it all ready to go.
So for example, on the website, we have an FTP server that we load high-res images on pretty much every day. In there as well, there's HD video that news networks can download for free. Give them good content. You know, going down to screw over the Japanese whalers, mate, that is media worthy.
The approach works. His coverage is phenomenal. These are links to just some of the thousands of media stories from his website. Not that all the stories are positive. Earth Race tragically collided with a vessel off Guatemala and a fisherman died. Pete's message is that you need to front up, good or bad.
Media was all over us, and it was a nightmare. The boat got roped off as a crime scene, but there was all these journalists up on the dock wanting to film us, and they kept trying to coax me and my crew to come out and give an interview and stuff, and we just didn't want a bar of it. That was very difficult, but we did front up.
He fronts up because he needs the media to tell his story, to spread his environmentalism. How many people have his messages touched?
Oh, and on the website we've had 3 million unique visitors in 12 months. Other than that, I don't really know, but it's shitloads.
And once the refit is finished, he hopes shitloads more will see his antics bothering the Japanese whalers, for whom he has just this one request.
I hope they don't shoot my boat, eh?
Simon Pound with a very savvy man. And that is our show for this week. Thanks to Metro Editor Bevan Rapson, our smacking panellists Larry Baldock, Brian Edwards and Matt Nippert, and our American translators Tracy Barnett and John Dibvig. And thanks to you for watching. We'll be back with Media7 at the same time next week. Until then, goodbye.